Here's pre-calc. It's the closure problem 5-137, and it wants us to simplify this lovely fraction, and then it wants us to say what are the values that we have to exclude, basically what values give a zero denominator. So you want to start by all these quadratics. They're all 4 quadratics. You want to write them in factored form to see if you can cancel something. So I did the diamond problems. I hope that you already know how to factor. There's diamond problems for all these. This one here is a difference of squares. So I just wrote it as 3x plus 1 times 3x minus 1. And that's just the difference of squares pattern. And this is just the fractions rewritten. And I noticed, you can see that I did some canceling. I canceled these two out. I canceled the 3x minus 1 with the 3x minus 1, and the 2x plus 1 with the 2x plus 1, and I was just simply left with the 3x plus 1 over 2x plus 1. And then we're not allowed to have a zero denominator in any of the fractions. So I look at all the fractions and I say, are there any problem areas? Like this one, I see 1/3 like if I set that equal to 0, I would get 1/3. So 1/3 is going to zero that out. So I don't want x to equal 1/3. 3 would zero that out. So I don't want 3. This would be -1/2, I think. And so would this. So that's what I got. Okay, on to letter B. Because this is a long problem, so I'm going to go kind of fast. So letter B, notice in this problem we were multiplying, so we wanted to factor and cancel. This problem is not multiplying. This problem is adding. So when you're adding, what you want to do is try to get a common denominator to simplify it. So you do want to factor the bottoms so that you can find a convenient common denominator. So first I just did little diamond problems on them and factored them. And then I have to ask myself, what common denominator can I use? So I've got an x minus 3, an x plus 1. Well, there's another x minus 3 and x minus 4. I don't need to use that x minus 3 twice. So really I want my common denominator to be x minus 3, x plus 1, x minus 4. So what I can do is see each of these have 2 of the 3 factors here. So I'm going to multiply this by a giant 1. See how this one's missing the x minus 4? I'm going to multiply it by a giant 1. This one's missing the x plus 1. So I multiply the top and bottom, by a giant 1. And then I worked that out. So I just did FOIL, like I went this times this times this time. Anyway, I did some FOIL. You can check that out. And then this is just simply my common denominator. See, they match. They're the same denominator now, so that's good. And then I just distributed my 6. And then and then here I had some like terms. I had the -20 and the +9, so I just put them into an 11, -11. And since I have the common denominator, I can write everything in the numerator, just all added up over that single denominator. So I went the 5x squared. Okay, and then I have this -11x, but I added it to the 6x, and that's where that -5x came from. And then this -36 and the +6, that's where that -30 came from. And then I noticed that I had 5s as a common factor, so I took the 5 out, and I got this. And then I made a diamond problem for it. And I end up factoring it down here on the next line. Okay, so we're going from here down to here. We've got this factored and everything. So now I've got everything's all factored. So now I can start canceling stuff out. And so really that wasn't that fun. The only thing that canceled out was the x minus 3s. But I'm just left with this. And then I go through and I look. I see that -1 would zero out right here. 4 would zero out right here. And then up here, 3. So those are the ones I found to exclude. And then here is letter C. Okay, so letter C was the greatest one of them all. Letter C, it's a division, but it's got you have addition on the top of the fraction bar, and you have, you know, subtraction on the bottom. So you could just get a common denominator on the top and a common denominator on the bottom, and then you'd have two fractions, and then you could like flip and multiply, or, you know, like multiply by the reciprocal. So I start by trying to get a common denominator. This is y over 1. So I'm multiplying by x over x here, and that's how I got x, y over x plus 3 over x. This one, I want a common denominator down here. So I think 7y, so I would multiply this by 7 over 7. So that's how I got that 14. And I would multiply this one by y over y. So that's how I got this. And now see, I have the common denominators. So I can write this as xy plus 3 over x. And this one's 14x minus xy over 7y. And then I can just like multiply both. I usually don't even show this part, but I can multiply the top and bottom by this reciprocal. I hope this doesn't make it more confusing for you. This is like a giant one. Right? This whole thing, bam, 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 that whole thing is gone. And I just end up with this, which is the same as just flipping the bottom one upside down and bringing it up. So however you want to think of it, it should end up looking this way. And then, yeah, I went a little overboard over here. So I thought that maybe I would you know, distribute it out, and that's what I did here. But then I saw one in the answer book, they just left it as 7y times xy plus 3, which is great. I went overboard here probably. And this one, you could write it as x times 14x minus xy. But then you have these both have an x that you could factor out, so that ends up being x squared times 14 minus y. And so I just did, but I didn't really notice that when I was doing it. So I brought it all the way to this point, and then I looked at the answer key and I saw they wrote it this way, so I just factored out what I needed to make it match. At first I didn't see why they factored it like this. Why didn't they just leave it this way? But now I see that it having it factored allows you to see what points you want to or what values you want to exclude. So I can see from here that x can't be 0, and I can see from here that y can't be 14 because that would zero it out. And then from up, where was it? Y can't be 0 because that would like zero other thing. That would like zero out this. It would make some zeros in some of the equations, some of the fractions. And so that's it.